Welcome back, Fragrance Fiend here today reviewing Matcha Meditation by Maison Margiela, now officially discontinued after only 3 years. It came out in 2021, it's 2025 now. So I thought I'd get my hands on a sample and give you a review and maybe tell you why it's discontinued. So at least to my knowledge, it's never been the most popular from the lineup. I wouldn't even think in the top 5 as far as sales are concerned. It's definitely quite distinct, but it's definitely not in my personal favorites whatsoever. So this is what the brand has to say about Matcha Meditation. A peaceful moment with oneself at home on a bright afternoon, focusing on the now, feeling every gesture, all senses awaken. Imagine you are meditating at home on a bright afternoon. Focus on the moment, feel every gesture, awaken your senses, and feel your mind escape. Serenity resigns as you achieve a joyful feeling of enlightenment. The soothing stream of the warm cup of matcha tea envelops you in a comforting sensation. And to the note breakdown, in the top you have bergamot essence, mandarin essence, and green tea accord with a heart of orange flower absolute, jasmine accord, matcha accord, and in the base benzoin, moss accord, and white chocolate accord. Let's get a little refresher of it. The thing about this one is, it does actually very accurately represent matcha tea, which I'm not actually quite fond of. I've had hot matcha tea, tasted like pumpkin soup, but I didn't mind cold matcha. Very herbal. To me, you really get a straight up hit of, obviously matcha, but the green tea as well. Although it's fresh, the bergamot and mandarin are quite minimal. It's the heart notes that really overtake this opening quite a bit. And that's what happens when you put jasmine into a fragrance. It can really disrupt some of the other elements, and I really do get quite a bit of jasmine out of this when you really put your nose to it. There is that element of freshness for the first 10 to 15 minutes, but after that, the mossiness begins to clouden it up a bit. And even though they are using benzoin absolute, I honestly get none of that in the dry down, and I love my benzoin. The fragrance definitely accomplishes what it sets out to do. It is a green citrus florally scent with an overbearing amount of matcha, which I'm sure matcha heads will absolutely love, but it's a floral part for me which kind of disrupts my attachment to it. To my nose at least, it does lean a little bit more to the feminine direction. It's definitely quite delicate, but I wouldn't really call it like a pretty fragrance. The florals do, however, smell quite natural though, which is nice to see because I have been quite critical of some other releases by the brand which smell a little more artificial or cheap. That being said, for 100ml, this one does cost 235 Australian dollars. After the florals evaporate, it does become a lot more weaker actually. It's really not a long-lasting fragrance. Not that you would expect that from an EDT, but it's definitely below average. If you like matcha, then it's a great thing because it is present from the absolute top to the dry down, all the way till it fades away. I think the thing I'm most impressed about this fragrance is its white chocolate accord. It really does come out probably after the first 15 minutes, and it just really lingers in the background without being too overly sweet. It has a light milkiness to it. If I had a theory on why this one might be getting discontinued, it's because it does have notes which aren't really transferable with a lot of their other fragrances. Take the matcha accord or the white chocolate accord. They're probably manufacturing quite a bit of it just for this fragrance in particular, whereas they can reuse certain florals and woods and a lot of basic elements which are cross-transferable across the rest of the lineup, so they really are going to a lot more effort to be able to create this fragrance. But since they need a smaller supply of specific ingredients for this one, it doesn't really match the profits of, say, a lot of the other notes in their other fragrances which are quite identical. I don't really want to make comparisons to other brands, but when you smell, say, like Zerja, for example, they use multiple different types of tobaccos and musks and woods, and of course you're paying for that as well. So I really can't set my expectations to that same level for this price, but I just feel like the level of effort it requires for the brand to actually keep making this fragrance doesn't really outweigh the expectations of profits, and that's just how business goes really, even if it has become a bit more of a loved fragrance in the lineup for a lot of fans. This one on me, however, does dry down to be a little more on the sour side. I think matcha has that tonality as well to a degree, but to me it's just not really appealing. So I personally have to give this one a tiny bit more of a miss. I personally prefer my Teh Matcha 26 by Le Labo a lot more than this, even though it's not really an accurate representation of matcha. I just consider it a better fragrance in general. So even though the stock has pretty much sold out, if you want to give it a smell, at least ask the staff because they might still have one. For Le Labo, for example, it's been months since the city exclusives, and I can still go to the boutique and smell them even though they're only available throughout the month of September. But anyway, that's all for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.